The Great Hall of the Hegemony Council stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal floor. 12 different alien species sat around the massive circular table, their forms as varied as the worlds they came from. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur or crystalline skin. But they all shared one thing in common. They had never lost a war. Admiral Zefkar stood at the center of the hall. His crystalline body caught the light from a dozen different suns that shone through the transparent dome above. The Velthari were proud of their military record. In 3,000 years, they had brought peace to over 200 worlds. Today, they would discuss bringing peace to one more. The species calls itself human, Zefkar said, his voice creating musical tones as it passed through his crystal throat. They live on the 3rd planet of a yellow star system. Our scouts have been watching them for 50 of their years. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a blue and green world covered in swirling white clouds. The planet looked peaceful and beautiful. It was hard to believe it housed such a dangerous species. Tell us about their technology, said Counselor Thexani. She was from the Morden, a species that looked like giant purple octopi. Her tentacles moved slowly as she spoke, showing she was relaxed. How advanced are they? Zefkar touched a control on his arm. New images appeared in the hologram. They showed crude metal ships that burned chemical fuel to push themselves through space. The ships were small and ugly compared to hegemony vessels. Primitive, Zefkar said. They have just learned to leave their planet's atmosphere. They use chemical rockets that are thousands of years behind our technology. They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light travel. Their most powerful weapons are nuclear bombs that they drop from flying machines. Several council members made sounds of amusement. Counselor Vexhai, whose species looked like giant insects with golden shells, clicked his mandibles together. Nuclear weapons? How quaint. We used those when we were children. But there is something else, Zefkar continued. The hologram changed again. Now it showed images of human cities, human armies, human weapons. They are violent. More violent than any species we have encountered. They fight wars constantly. They kill their own kind for resources, for land, for ideas. In the past 100 years, they have killed over 100 million of their own people in wars. The council chamber grew quiet. Even among species that had conquered hundreds of worlds, this was shocking news. They fight each other? Asked Counselor Yilmaz, whose plant-like body swayed as she spoke. Why would a species do this to itself? We do not know, Zefkar admitted. Our scientists believe it is because they evolved as predators. Most species in the galaxy evolved from prey animals, creatures that ran from danger, that lived in herds for safety. But humans evolved from hunters. They are built to chase, to kill, to fight. More worried sounds came from around the table. The concept of a predator species was not unknown, but none had ever achieved intelligence before. How intelligent are they? Asked the Morden counselor. Very intelligent, Zefkar said, and new images appeared. In just 200 years, they have gone from riding animals to flying through space. They learn fast, too fast. Our projections show that if we leave them alone, they will have faster-than-light travel within 50 years. Energy weapons within 100 years. And then? Asked Vexhai. And then they will come looking for us, Zefkar said simply. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Different species spoke in different languages, creating a symphony of concerned voices. Some sounded like music, others like grinding rocks, others like wind through trees. Counselor Thexani raised one of her tentacles for silence. What do you recommend, Admiral? Standard pacification, Zefkar said without hesitation. We send a fleet to their system. We destroy their military forces. We offer them protection under hegemony law. If they accept, they live. If they refuse, we destroy their cities until they surrender. How large a fleet? Asked the insect-like counselor. 200 ships should be enough, Zefkar said confidently. They have no space-based military to speak of. Their largest space stations hold fewer than a dozen people. We have pacified much stronger worlds with smaller fleets. Around the table, council members nodded their agreement. 200 ships was a modest force, but it should be more than enough for such a primitive world. Very well, said Thexani. Admiral Zefkar, you will take 200 ships to the human system. You will offer them standard terms. If they refuse, you will implement standard pacification procedures. We expect this to be completed within 1 solar rotation. It will be done, Zefkar said, bowing his crystalline head. But while the Hegemony Council made their plans, Something else was happening in the human system. Deep space monitoring stations that humans had built beyond their outermost planet had detected something unusual. Strange energy signatures were moving toward their solar system. The signatures were too regular to be natural, too organized to be random space debris. Dr. James Park sat in the monitoring station beyond Neptune, staring at readings that made no sense. He had been tracking the signals for 3 days now, and they were definitely artificial. They were also getting closer. "Sarah, come look at this," he called to his colleague. Dr. Sarah Chen floated over in the zero gravity of the station. She looked at the readings and frowned. "That's not possible. There's nothing out there that could make signals like that. Unless it's not from our solar system," James said quietly. The two scientists looked at each other. They both knew what this might mean. For decades, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they might have their answer. "We need to contact Earth," Sarah said. Within hours, the message had reached every major government on Earth. Presidents and prime ministers held emergency meetings. Military commanders studied the data and prepared for the worst. Scientists worked frantically to learn more about the approaching signals. President Maria Santos of the United Earth Coalition stood before the cameras in her office. Behind her, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. She had practiced this speech many times but never thought she would actually give it. "Citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "Today, our deep space monitoring stations detected artificial signals approaching our solar system. We believe these signals represent spacecraft from another world." She paused, letting the words sink in. Around the world, billions of people stopped what they were doing to listen. "We do not know if these visitors come in peace or with hostile intent," she continued. "But we must be prepared for either possibility. Our military forces are being mobilized. Our scientists are working to learn more, and our diplomats are preparing for the possibility of first contact with an alien species." She looked directly into the camera. "We have approximately 72 hours before these craft reach our solar system. I ask all citizens to remain calm, to support each other, and to prepare for whatever may come. Humanity has faced many challenges throughout our history. We have always survived, and we will survive this too." As the president's speech ended, military bases around the world came alive with activity. Soldiers prepared weapons, pilots climbed into aircraft, and naval vessels took to the seas. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. If these aliens came to fight, humanity's primitive weapons would be no match for technology that could cross the stars. Or so they thought. The hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the human solar system. 200 ships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and weapon ports. Each ship was larger than anything humans had ever built. The smallest vessel was 3 times the size of Earth's largest space station. Admiral Zefkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crystal Harmony. Through the transparent walls of his command center, he could see the human homeworld floating in the distance like a small blue dot. It looked so peaceful, so harmless. Soon it would be under hegemony protection, like so many worlds before it. "Open a communication channel to the planet," he ordered his communications officer. "Channel open, Admiral," came the reply. Zefkar's voice carried across space to Earth, translated by advanced computers into dozens of human languages. "Attention, inhabitants of the third planet. I am Admiral Zefkar of the Hegemony Council. Your world has been selected for pacification and protection under hegemony law. On Earth, billions of people watched and listened as the alien voice continued. Your species shows signs of dangerous aggressive behavior. For your own safety and the safety of other species in the galaxy, you must surrender immediately. Lay down your weapons, shut down your military forces, and prepare to receive hegemony peacekeeping troops. If you comply, your people will be relocated to safe reservation areas where you can live in peace. If you resist, we will be forced to use military action to protect you from yourselves." In the emergency command center beneath the Swiss mountains, world leaders listened to the alien ultimatum with growing anger. President Santos looked around the table at the faces of her fellow leaders. She saw fear, yes, but also something else. Defiance. "They want us to surrender without a fight," said General Morrison, head of Earth's combined military forces. "They're treating us like children who can't be trusted with sharp objects." "What are our options?" asked Premier Volkov of the Russian Federation. "Limited," Morrison admitted. "We have 43 armed spacecraft in orbit, mostly converted mining vessels with missile systems. We have nuclear weapons, but no way to deliver them effectively in space combat. Against 200 advanced alien ships, he shrugged. President Santos stood up. There's something they don't understand about humans, she said. We don't surrender. We've never surrendered. Even when the odds are impossible, even when defeat is certain, we fight. She turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to the alien fleet. Moments later, her voice carried across space to Admiral Zefkar's ship. The message was simple and clear. No. On the crystal harmony, Zefkar blinked his crystalline eyes in confusion. In 3,000 years of hegemony expansion, no primitive species had ever refused their offer of protection. They always surrendered when faced with overwhelming force. Perhaps they did not understand, suggested his tactical officer. Should we explain the terms again? No, Zefkar said slowly. They understood. Begin standard pacification procedures. Target their military installations and major population centers. Use minimum force necessary to ensure surrender. The hegemony fleet moved into attack formation. Energy weapons charged with power that could level mountains. Missile systems loaded projectiles that could crack continents. It should have been over in minutes. But something unexpected happened. As the alien ships approached Earth, they were met not by fleeing civilians or surrendering armies, but by every armed spacecraft humanity could put into space. Mining ships loaded with nuclear warheads, passenger shuttles converted into missile platforms, even tourist vessels carrying nothing but conventional explosives and brave volunteers. Captain Elena Rodriguez piloted her converted cargo ship directly at a hegemony cruiser 10 times her size. Her cargo hold was packed with nuclear mines, and her crew consisted of volunteers from 12 different nations. This is Captain Rodriguez to all human forces, she broadcast. They think we're just another prey species that will run when they bare their teeth. Let's show them what predators look like. Her ship rammed into the alien cruiser's shields at full speed. The nuclear explosion that followed lit up space like a new star and took down the larger ship's defensive systems. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships that should have been destroyed in seconds instead fought with desperate creativity. They used debris as weapons, turning destroyed vessels into kinetic projectiles. They coordinated attacks that sacrificed multiple ships to destroy single alien targets. They fought like cornered animals, except these animals had nuclear weapons and no fear of death. Admiral Zefkar watched in growing alarm as his tactical display showed something impossible. His ships were taking casualties. Real casualties, not just minor damage from primitive weapons. A converted human mining ship had somehow managed to attach nuclear charges to one of his destroyers. The explosion had completely destroyed the hegemony vessel. How is this possible? He demanded. Their technology is inferior. Their ships are barely capable of spaceflight. Admiral, his tactical officer said, his voice shaking. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered before. They're using their own destroyed ships as weapons. They're ramming our vessels with nuclear explosives. They seem to have no concept of self-preservation. More alarms sounded. Another hegemony ship had been destroyed, this time by a coordinated attack from 6 human vessels. The humans had used one ship as a distraction, while the others attacked from multiple angles, overwhelming the alien ship's defenses through sheer audacity. On Earth, the battle was being broadcast live to every corner of the planet. Humans watched their ships fight impossible odds with a mixture of pride and terror. They saw their neighbors, their friends, their family members dying in the cold vacuum of space. But they also saw something else. They were winning. Not the war, perhaps, but individual battles. Human ships that should have been swatted aside like flies were taking down alien vessels worth more than entire Earth nations. And with each victory, each successful attack, the human forces seemed to grow more confident, more coordinated. Dr. Sarah Chen worked frantically in her laboratory, studying pieces of alien technology recovered from destroyed ships. What she found amazed her. The alien technology was advanced, yes, but it was also predictable. It followed patterns, used standard designs, operated according to established principles. They're not innovators, she realized aloud. They're following a playbook. They do the same things the same way every time because that's what has always worked. She contacted the military command center. General Morrison, I think I know why we're doing better than expected. These aliens fight like they've never encountered real resistance before. Their tactics are designed for enemies that surrender quickly. What does that mean for us? Morrison asked. It means they don't know how to handle an enemy that fights back. Their whole strategy is based on overwhelming force causing immediate surrender. When that doesn't work, they don't have a backup plan. As if to prove her point, the alien fleet began to pull back. Admiral Zefkar, faced with the unthinkable prospect of significant casualties in what should have been a routine operation, ordered a tactical withdrawal to regroup. "Send a message to the Hegemony Council," he told his communications officer. "Request additional forces. These humans are different from previous targets." In the emergency command center on Earth, President Santos watched the alien fleet retreat beyond the moon's orbit. Around her, military officers and world leaders cheered. They had survived the first day of humanity's first interstellar war, but Santos knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would be back, probably with more ships. And next time they would be ready for human tactics. "How many ships did we lose?" she asked General Morrison. 37, he replied grimly. "But we took down 8 of theirs." "That's better than anyone thought possible." Santos nodded. In any previous war in human history, those would be terrible losses. But against alien technology that was thousands of years ahead of their own, it was practically a miracle. "What's our next move?" asked Premier Volkov. Santos looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet regrouping beyond Earth's moon. "We prepare for round 2, and we hope that our stubborn refusal to die is enough to keep us alive until we can figure out how to win this war." Outside the command center windows, Earth continued to spin in space. On its surface, 7 billion humans went about their daily lives, knowing that above their heads a war was being fought for the survival of their species. They also knew something else, something that the aliens were just beginning to understand. Humans didn't give up. Ever. 3 days had passed since the first battle, and the alien fleet remained beyond Earth's moon, apparently waiting for something. During this time, humanity had not been idle. In secret facilities around the world, teams of scientists and engineers worked around the clock to understand the alien technology. Every piece of debris from destroyed alien ships had been collected and studied. Every fragment of metal, every broken component, every scrap of material was being analyzed by the brightest minds on Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in Laboratory 7, deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. Around her, dozens of scientists from every nation on Earth worked together on pieces of technology that should not have existed. Holographic displays, energy weapons, materials stronger than anything humans had ever created. "The power source is incredible," reported Dr. Yamamoto from Japan. "This single crystal contains more energy than our largest nuclear power plant produces in a year." "And look at this," added Dr. Okafor from Nigeria, holding up a piece of what had once been an alien weapon. "The metal is self-repairing. When damaged, it actually rebuilds itself using ambient energy." But Sarah was focused on something else entirely. She had been studying the alien computers, trying to understand how they thought, how they planned, how they fought. What she found disturbed her more than any weapon or technology. "Everyone, stop what you're doing and listen," she called out. The laboratory fell silent. Scientists looked up from their work to hear what she had discovered. "I've been analyzing the alien tactical programs, their strategic databases, their military protocols," Sarah began, "and I've found something that explains everything we've seen so far." She activated a holographic display that showed images of dozens of different alien species. Some looked like the crystalline beings that had attacked Earth. Others were insect-like, plant-like, or resembled various Earth animals. Every single species in their alliance evolved from prey animals, Sarah continued. "Look at these body structures. Large eyes for watching for predators, group social behaviors for herd protection, digestive systems designed for plant matter. Even their military tactics are based on herd behavior. Overwhelming numbers, intimidation displays, and retreat when faced with serious resistance." Dr. Patel from India raised his hand. "What are you saying, Sarah?" "I'm saying that in all their thousands of years of expansion, they have never encountered a species like us. They've never fought against predators. Their entire military doctrine is designed for fighting other prey species that think like prey, that act like prey, that surrender like prey." The implications sank in around the room. Dr. Yamamoto was the first to speak. "So when we didn't run, when we didn't surrender, we broke their entire understanding of how wars work." "Exactly," Sarah said. "But there's more. I found their species classification system. Every intelligent species they've encountered has been rated on a scale of 1 to 10 for aggressiveness. The highest rating they've ever given is a 7, to a species that occasionally fought over territory. "What did they rate us?" asked Dr. Okafor. Sarah's expression was grim. "They haven't figured out how to rate us yet. Our behavior doesn't fit their scale." While the scientists worked to understand alien technology, military forces around the world were adapting human tactics to space warfare. General Morrison stood in the war room, studying displays that showed the positions of both human and alien forces. "Report," he ordered. Colonel Zhang, his intelligence officer, stepped forward. "The aliens have maintained their position beyond lunar orbit for 72 hours. Our reconnaissance shows they're receiving transmissions from outside the solar system. We believe they're calling for reinforcements. How long until those reinforcements arrive? Unknown, sir. But we've used the time well. We've completed conversion of another 200 civilian vessels to military use. We've distributed alien technology to our research teams worldwide, and we've implemented the new tactical protocols based on our analysis of their fighting patterns." Morrison nodded. The new tactics were based on something that had become clear during the first battle. The aliens expected their enemies to fight like civilized beings. They expected organized formations, predictable strategies, and reasonable responses to superior force. Humans, it turned out, had no intention of fighting like civilized beings. Captain Rodriguez, who had survived her ramming attack when her ship's crew managed to evacuate at the last moment, now commanded a squadron of converted mining vessels. Each ship was loaded with nuclear charges and crewed by volunteers who understood their mission might be a one-way trip. "Remember," she told her pilots over the communication system, "they think they know how we fight now. They think they've adapted to our tactics. Let's show them how wrong they are." Above Earth, the alien fleet finally began to move. Admiral Zefkar had spent 3 days trying to understand how primitive humans had managed to destroy 8 of his ships. His analysis computers had run thousands of simulations, trying to predict human behavior. All the simulations said the same thing. Human resistance should have collapsed after the first exchange of fire. But the simulations were wrong. And Zefkar knew it. "Begin the second assault," he ordered. "This time we target their industrial centers. Destroy their ability to build more ships." The alien fleet moved toward Earth in a new formation, one designed to counter the ramming attacks and coordinated strikes that humans had used before. They had adapted their tactics, just as any intelligent military force would. Unfortunately for the aliens, humans had adapted too. The second battle began not in Earth's orbit but near the asteroid belt. Human ships that had been hiding among the asteroids suddenly activated, launching surprise attacks on the alien flanks. But these weren't the converted civilian vessels from the first battle. These were something new. Dr. Chen's teams had worked frantically to reverse engineer alien technology and integrate it with human engineering. The result was a hybrid design that combined alien power sources and materials with human tactical thinking. The new ships were faster, more heavily armed, and designed specifically for the kind of chaotic combat that humans excelled at. "Target their command ship," ordered Captain Martinez, leading the first squadron of human-alien hybrid vessels. "If we can disrupt their coordination, their whole formation will fall apart." The human ships moved in patterns that violated every principle of civilized space warfare. They used asteroids as cover, fired from multiple directions simultaneously, and coordinated their attacks in ways that the alien computers couldn't predict or counter. Admiral Zefkar watched in horror as his carefully planned formation dissolved into chaos. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck hard and disappeared before his weapons could lock onto them. Worse, they seemed to be learning from every exchange, adapting their tactics faster than his computers could analyze them. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, his crystalline voice trembling with fear, "they're not fighting like any species in our databases. Our prediction algorithms can't track their behavior patterns." "Then we fight without algorithms," Zefkar declared. "Manual control, all ships. Use instinct instead of computers." But that created a new problem. The alien species, evolved from prey animals, had instincts that told them to flee when faced with aggressive predators. And as the battle continued, as human ships pressed their attacks with relentless determination, those instincts began to take over. Individual alien ships started to retreat without orders. Formation discipline broke down as alien crews followed millions of years of evolutionary programming that screamed at them to run from the hunters that stalked them through space. On Earth, Dr. Chen watched the battle through telescopes and realized something profound. "We're not just fighting them," she told her assistant. "We're activating every prey instinct their species has developed over millions of years. To them, we must look like their worst nightmare, intelligent predators with advanced weapons." The second battle ended with the alien fleet in full retreat. They pulled back not just beyond the moon but completely out of the solar system. Human forces did not pursue. They had learned caution in the first engagement, and they knew the aliens would return with even more ships. But something fundamental had changed. In the first battle, humans had surprised the aliens with their refusal to surrender. In the second battle, they had proved that surprise was not a fluke. Humanity was not just stubborn. They were genuinely dangerous. Admiral Zefkar sat in his command center staring at casualty reports that should have been impossible. In 2 engagements with a primitive species, he had lost 37 ships, 37 vessels that represented centuries of technological development and the lives of thousands of trained crew members. "Send a priority message to the Hegemony Council," he ordered. "Request a full battle fleet." Mark the message as urgent threat assessment. His communications officer hesitated. "Admiral, what classification should I give the human species?" Zefkar thought about ships that rammed his vessels without hesitation, crews that volunteered for suicide missions, tactics that made no logical sense but somehow worked anyway. He thought about a species that fought like the monsters from his people's ancient nightmares. "Create a new classification," he said finally. "Mark them as apex predators. And add a note. Recommend full extermination protocols." The Hegemony Council chamber had never been so tense. Admiral Zefkar's report lay before them like a bomb waiting to explode. For the first time in 3,000 years, a pacification mission had not just failed, it had resulted in significant casualties against a primitive species. Counselor Thexani read the report aloud with her tentacles trembling. 37 ships lost. Request for full battle fleet deployment. Species classification, apex predator. Recommendation, complete extermination. "This is impossible," declared Counselor Vexai, his insect-like body clicking with agitation. "No primitive species has ever caused such losses. Admiral Zefkar must be exaggerating." But Counselor Yilmaz, the plant-like being whose species was known for their wisdom, swayed thoughtfully. "The Admiral has never filed a false report. If he says these humans are dangerous, perhaps we should listen." "Dangerous?" laughed Counselor Rextol, whose bear-like appearance masked a gentle herbivorous nature. "They don't even have proper starships. How dangerous could they be?" The answer came in the form of another message from Admiral Zefkar. This time it included video recordings from the battles. The Council watched in stunned silence as human ships performed impossible maneuvers, as crews deliberately sacrificed themselves to destroy alien vessels, as tactics that made no sense somehow worked. "They ram our ships," whispered Counselor Thexani. "They actually ram our ships with nuclear explosives." "What kind of species does that?" "A predator species," Yilmaz said quietly. "We have awakened something that should have remained sleeping." But the Council was committed now. Word of the failed pacification had begun to spread through the hegemony. Other species were watching to see how the mighty Council would handle this embarrassment. They could not afford to appear weak. "Deploy the 3rd Battle Fleet," ordered Thexani. 2,000 ships. "If these humans want to fight, we will show them what real military power looks like." While the hegemony prepared their massive fleet, humanity was undergoing its own transformation. The past 2 weeks had changed everything. Nations that had been enemies for centuries now worked together against the alien threat. Resources flowed freely between countries. Scientists shared discoveries without concern for patents or national secrets. Most importantly, humanity had finally found a use for all the weapons they had spent centuries perfecting against each other. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's first true warship. Built in the hidden shipyards on the dark side of Luna, the Retribution combined reverse-engineered alien technology with human military engineering. It was twice the size of any ship humans had built before, and 10 times more dangerous. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems green." "Captain," replied her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Park. Hybrid plasma cannons charged. Nuclear torpedo tubes loaded, faster than light drive standing by. The FTL drive was humanity's greatest achievement. Stolen from alien wreckage and rebuilt with human modifications, it allowed human ships to travel between stars for the first time. But more than that, it gave humanity something they had never had before: the ability to take the fight to the enemy. Fleet status? Vasquez asked. 47 ships ready for deployment, Captain. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, passenger ships, all converted for combat, plus 12 purpose-built warships like ourselves. Vasquez nodded. It wasn't much compared to what the aliens could field, but it was enough for what she had in mind. The aliens expected humans to wait for them to return, to defend Earth like cornered animals. Instead, humanity was about to do something that no prey species in galactic history had ever attempted. They were going hunting. Dr. Chen's intelligence teams had been busy during the lull between battles. Using captured alien computers, they had mapped hegemony supply routes, communication relays, and staging areas. The alien empire was vast, but it was also predictable. They moved supplies along the same routes, used the same communication frequencies, followed the same protocols they had used for thousands of years. We've identified 17 critical supply depots within 50 light-years of Earth, Chen reported to the military command. If we can disrupt even half of them, it will force the hegemony to divert resources to protect their supply lines. General Morrison studied the tactical displays. You're talking about hit-and-run raids deep in enemy territory. It's incredibly dangerous. Everything we've done so far has been incredibly dangerous, Chen replied. But we've learned something about these aliens. They don't adapt well to unexpected situations. They follow patterns, protocols, established procedures. If we hit them in ways they don't expect, in places they think are safe, we can cause damage far beyond our actual military strength. The strategy was pure human thinking, asymmetric warfare taken to an interstellar scale. Instead of meeting the enemy's strength with strength, humanity would use speed, surprise, and their willingness to take insane risks. Captain Vasquez received her orders 3 days later. She was to take her fleet of 59 ships and begin what military historians would later call the Terran raids, the first offensive military action by humanity against an interstellar empire. Remember, she told her fleet commanders over the communication system, we're not trying to conquer territory or hold positions. We're trying to make them afraid. Every time they think they understand us, we do something they don't expect. Every time they feel safe, we show up and prove they're not. The first target was a supply depot in the Vega system, 12 light-years from Earth. According to captured alien data, it was a major hub for military supplies heading toward human space. It was also completely undefended, because no primitive species had ever possessed the technology to threaten it. The human fleet dropped out of FTL drive at the edge of the Vega system, like ghosts materializing from the void. The alien supply depot, a massive space station orbiting the 5th planet, was caught completely by surprise. All ships, begin attack run, Vasquez ordered. Remember, hit hard, hit fast, and get out before they can organize a response. The human ships swept through the system like a pack of wolves. They destroyed cargo vessels, shattered supply warehouses, and crippled the space station's defenses. But more than that, they sent a message that would echo throughout the hegemony. Nowhere was safe from human retaliation. The raid lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, the supply depot was a burning wreck, and the human fleet had vanished back into FTL space, heading for their next target. News of the attack reached Admiral Zefkar just as he was preparing to depart with the 3rd Battle Fleet. The report made no sense to him. How could primitive humans have launched an attack 12 light-years from their homeworld? They didn't have FTL technology. They barely had spaceflight. Confirm this report, he ordered his intelligence officer. Confirmed, Admiral. The Vega depot has been destroyed. Sensor records show approximately 60 vessels of unknown configuration. They appeared from FTL space, attacked the facility, and disappeared before local defenses could respond. Zefkar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not just concern or worry, but actual primal fear. These humans were not just defending their world anymore. They were hunting. How is this possible? He demanded. They cannot have developed FTL technology so quickly. Unknown, Admiral. But there's more. We've received reports of attacks on supply depots in the Altair and Procyon systems as well. Same pattern. Fast attack by unknown vessels, complete destruction of facilities, immediate withdrawal. The implications were staggering. In less than 24 hours, humans had demonstrated the ability to strike anywhere in local space. They had stolen alien technology and adapted it faster than should have been possible. Worse, they were using tactics that no hegemony commander knew how to counter. Change our mission parameters, Zefkar ordered. We are no longer conducting a pacification operation. This is now a full military campaign against a hostile interstellar power. As the massive hegemony battle fleet altered course to hunt down the human raiders, Captain Vasquez was leading her ships to their next target. But this time they weren't just attacking a supply depot. They were going after something that would send shockwaves through the entire alien empire. The Rigel Communications Hub was one of 12 installations that coordinated faster-than-light communications across hegemony space. Destroying it would blind the aliens across dozens of star systems and force them to rely on slower, less efficient communication methods. Target acquired, reported Lieutenant Park. Massive space station heavily defended. Admiral, this is going to be a real fight. Vasquez smiled grimly. Good. Let's show them what a real fight looks like when the predators come hunting. The attack on the Rigel hub would be remembered as the moment when the galaxy realized that humanity was no longer the hunted. As human ships swarmed the alien installation, using tactics that combined ancient human warfare with advanced alien technology, a new truth became clear. The most dangerous species in the galaxy had finally learned to walk among the stars, and they were very, very hungry. The third battle fleet of the hegemony was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 2,000 ships stretched across space in perfect formation, their combined firepower capable of destroying entire star systems. Admiral Zefkar stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Eternal Peace, and tried to feel confident about the coming battle. He failed. In the 3 weeks since humans had begun their raiding campaign, they had destroyed 47 supply depots, 8 communication hubs, and countless smaller installations. Worse, they had done it without losing a single ship. They appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and vanished before hegemony forces could respond. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we are approaching the Sol system. Human forces are detected throughout the area. How many ships? Zefkar asked. Difficult to determine, sir. They appear to be using some kind of stealth technology. We're detecting energy signatures but cannot get accurate counts. Zefkar nodded grimly. The humans had continued to surprise them with rapid technological advancement. In just 1 month, they had gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light warships equipped with alien technology. It should have been impossible. But then everything about humans was impossible according to hegemony understanding of how species should behave. Begin the attack, he ordered. Full assault formation. We end this today. The massive alien fleet moved toward Earth like an approaching storm. 2,000 ships, each one powerful enough to level cities, advanced in perfect order. Their energy shields glowed with power. Their weapons charged for destruction. They never saw the moon coming. Captain Rodriguez watched from the bridge of her command ship as Luna accelerated away from Earth. The plan had been 3 weeks in the making, and it was typically human in its audacity. Using a combination of captured alien technology and human engineering, they had converted Earth's moon into the largest kinetic weapon in history. Fusion drives at maximum, reported her engineering officer. Luna is accelerating at 0.03 gravities. Time to impact? Rodriguez asked. 14 minutes, Captain. Around her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. They all knew this was humanity's last desperate gambit. If it failed, Earth would fall to the alien invasion. If it succeeded, they would have proven once and for all that humans were not prey animals waiting to be protected. Admiral Zefkar first noticed something was wrong when his gravitational sensors began screaming warnings. Something massive was moving in the inner solar system, something that registered as having the mass of a small planet. What is that energy signature? He demanded. His science officer checked the readings twice before responding. Admiral, it appears to be Earth's natural satellite. But that's impossible. Moons don't just move on their own. Show me. The main display shifted to show Luna racing through space, its surface glowing with the heat of massive fusion engines. Zefkar's crystalline body went cold as he realized what the humans had done. "They've turned their moon into a weapon," he whispered. The moon struck the center of the hegemony formation. Like the fist of an angry god, ships that had survived 1,000 battles were crushed like insects. The kinetic energy released by Luna's impact vaporized everything within a 50-kilometer radius and sent shockwaves rippling through the alien fleet. In an instant, 400 hegemony vessels simply ceased to exist, but the humans weren't finished. As the alien fleet reeled from the lunar bombardment, human ships emerged from hiding spots throughout the solar system. They had been concealed in asteroid fields, behind planets, and in the shadows of space stations. Now they struck with coordinated precision that spoke of months of planning. Captain Vasquez led the first wave, her rebuilt fleet of hybrid warships cutting through the disorganized alien formation like sharks through a school of fish. Behind her came converted civilian vessels, their hulls packed with nuclear weapons and their crews ready to die for their species' freedom. "All ships, execute Plan Fenrir," Vasquez ordered over the communication system. Plan Fenrir was named after the wolf from ancient Earth mythology that would devour the gods at the end of the world. It was humanity's ultimate expression of their predator nature. A battle plan that abandoned all pretense of civilized warfare in favor of pure, savage efficiency. Human ships didn't form neat battle lines or follow orderly attack patterns. Instead, they hunted in packs, using superior speed and maneuverability to isolate alien vessels and destroy them one by one. They used every dirty trick humans had learned in millennia of warfare against each other. False retreats, ambush tactics, psychological warfare, and weapons that violated every principle of civilized combat. Admiral Zefkar watched his perfect formation dissolve into chaos as human forces struck from every direction at once. His ships, designed for orderly battles against predictable enemies, couldn't adapt to the swirling melee that surrounded them. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from over 200 ships. Their crews are requesting permission to withdraw." "Denied," Zefkar replied automatically, then stopped. In 3,000 years of hegemony military history, no crew had ever requested permission to flee from battle. The concept was unthinkable, but as he watched human ships tear through his fleet with relentless determination, Zefkar began to understand what his crews were feeling. They were experiencing something their species had not felt for millions of years: the terror of being hunted by something faster, smarter, and more dangerous than themselves. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it finally ended, the once mighty Third Battle Fleet was a scattered collection of burning wreckage. Of the 2,000 ships that had entered the Sol system, fewer than 400 survived to retreat into faster-than-light space. But the real victory wasn't in the numbers of ships destroyed. It was in what happened next. President Santos stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's nations, but her audience was not limited to humans. Thanks to captured alien communication equipment, her words were being broadcast throughout hegemony space, translated into dozens of alien languages. "To the Hegemony Council and all member species," she began, her voice calm but carrying an undertone of steel that every predator would recognize. "For 3,000 years you have spread across the galaxy, conquering worlds and claiming to bring peace. You have encountered hundreds of species and all of them have surrendered to your superior technology and overwhelming force." She paused, letting her words sink in across dozens of star systems. "We are different. We are humanity. And we have never surrendered to anyone or anything. You came to our world thinking we were just another prey species that would submit to your protection. You were wrong." Behind her, displays showed images from the recent battle: alien ships fleeing in terror from human forces, the moon weapon striking the hegemony fleet, human ships hunting alien vessels through the wreckage of war. "You see, you made a fundamental error. You assumed that because we are primitives, we are weak. You assumed that because we fight among ourselves, we cannot fight against outsiders. You assumed that because you had always won before, you would win again." Her voice grew harder. "But we are not your previous conquests. We are not herbivores hiding in herds. We are not prey animals waiting for protection. We are the descendants of persistence hunters who chased mammoths across ice fields and lions across savannas. We are the species that looked at the sky and decided to conquer it. We are the apex predators of Earth, and now we have learned to hunt among the stars." The transmission showed more images: human ships conducting raids across hegemony space, Alien installations burning, supply convoys fleeing from human attack forces. So here are our terms, Santos continued. Withdraw all forces from human space. Cease all hostile actions against Earth and her colonies. Recognize humanity as a sovereign interstellar power with full rights and territories. She leaned forward, and even across light years of space, her predator's smile was visible. If you refuse these terms, if you continue to threaten our world or our people, we will do what humans have always done when faced with threats. We will hunt you. All of you. Across every star system, around every planet. Through every corner of space where you think you are safe. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the Hegemony Council chamber, the 12 species representatives sat in shock. They had just witnessed the impossible. A primitive species not only defeating their most powerful fleet, but issuing ultimatums to the entire galactic civilization. What do we do? Asked Counselor Vexhai, his insectoid body trembling. Counselor Yilmaz swayed thoughtfully. We have a choice. We can continue this war against a species that clearly considers warfare to be an art form, or we can accept that we have awakened something that should have remained sleeping. You're suggesting we surrender to primitives? Rextal demanded. I'm suggesting we survive, Yilmaz replied quietly. These humans have shown us something we never imagined possible. They have shown us what it looks like when apex predators develop intelligence and technology. Do we really want to learn what else they are capable of?